Good afternoon and welcome to our council meeting on May 22nd, 2024. I will now call on Will Short, Regional Clerk, to conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Chair Redmond?
Present.
Councillor Craig?
Present.
Councillor Deutschman?
Present.
Councillor Erb?
Present.
Councillor Foxton?
Present.
Councillor Harris? Councillor Hunig?
Present.
Councillor James?
Present.
Councillor Liggett? Councillor McCabe? Councillor Nowak? Councillor Solonen?
Present.
Councillor Shantz? Councillor Verbanovic?
Here.
Councillor Williams?
Here.
Councillor Wolf?
Present.
Thank you, Chair.
Colleagues, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, and the Chinootan peoples. As I do this, I want to reflect on what it means to be doing important community work like we are engaging in collectively today, and also on my own individual relationship to this land. As a settler, one of the most important aspects of my individual journey towards truth and reconciliation has been to listen. And I am continually grateful to the community that continues to share their stories and concerns with me. As well as the chair of the region, I know that I carry a large responsibility to ensure that it is not just myself on an individual level listening and acting, but as a government, we are listening and creating action within the community. I'm offering this acknowledgement as one of the many actions I am personally in the region at large is taking on our journey to reconciliation. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. Colleagues, I also want to point out and draw your attention to the fact that Waterloo Region is hosting Special Olympics Ontario this week for the first time from May 23rd to 26th. We welcome the athletes and coaches from across Ontario who have been training day in and day out for the 2024 Provincial Spring Games since before the pandemic. The games will be hosted by the Waterloo Regional Police Service, and competitions will be held across the region of Waterloo. Many schools, municipalities, townships, and businesses are providing facilities for the game. I would encourage anyone who can to come out to the games and support these amazing athletes. I now would entertain a motion to go into closed. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Hunig. Please use your e-scribe to vote, and we will go into camera to discuss a proposed disposition of land, proposed acquisition of land, and a matter that relates to an identifiable individual. So if you could please use your buttons. So the motion is to go into closed. Michael, are you, Councillor Harris, are you in favor of going into closed? Yep. Thank you.
You bet.
Colleagues, that is carried. We will see everyone in the Waterloo room for a closed session. So I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's Regional Council meeting. I need a motion to reconvene in open session. Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Councillor Liggett, if you're with us, can you vote, please? Thank you, colleagues. That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, we have no presentations. There is a petition that has been submitted by one of the delegations, and if there are any questions, we will consider them at that point. Delegations, we will now proceed to hear them as listed on the agenda. I would like to remind all delegations of some guidelines for participation. For those who are joining us in person, please proceed to the podium when you are called upon to speak. For those who are joining us electronically, please use your video and camera turned off until you are recognized and your microphone audio muted until you are called on to speak. Delegations who registered before the deadline will have 5 minutes to speak. Delegations who registered after the deadline will have 3 minutes to speak. If you conduct yourself in any of the following manners, it will result in an immediate removal from the meeting. Interrupting councillors, staff, or other delegations, derogatory statements about councillors, staff, or others, turning your camera on at inappropriate times, or hate speech or defamatory comments. One last reminder for delegations, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas that have been shared with us from our community members. And a quick reminder to members in the audience, you're asked to maintain order. And this means you will not address the committee without permission of the chair, interrupt anyone, disrupt the meeting with unreasonable noise or vocal expressions such as applause, booing, or cheering, or displaying signs or posters. So thank you all very much for following the rules. First delegation is Kelly Smith, Friends of the Waterloo Regional Museums. Welcome, Kelly. You have the floor. Can you push a button? There should be a button right there, Kelly.
There we go.
Yeah.
As mentioned, I'm Kelly Smith. I'm the president of the Friends of Waterloo Region Museums. A number of our board's 15 volunteer members have joined me tonight. We're very pleased to come before Regional Council this evening. The Friends of Waterloo Region Museums is a charitable foundation that raises funds in support of Ken Sealing Waterloo Region Museum, Dune Heritage Village, and now Schneider House and McDougall Cottage as well. The history of our Friends group began in 1956 when Dune Pioneer Village was first built at the Huron Road and Homer Watson Boulevard site. We've been involved with the site for 68 years and have enjoyed a long relationship with the region, who have been the owner and operator since 1983. Our group fundraises in order to enhance programming and augment the region's budget to ensure that history comes to life at our museums. The highlight for us this past year was the expansion of our mandate to include fundraising support for Schneider House and McDougall Cottage, which now unites all 4 Region of Waterloo museums into our fundraising events and activities. Over the last 26 years, since 1998, including donations announced today, the Friends have donated almost $500,000. The donated funds provide enhancements to capital projects, costuming for staff and volunteers. We've donated towards bringing world-class exhibits and speakers to the museum, and we've sponsored creation of both virtual and other innovative on-site programming. Today, we're presenting you with 3 donations totaling over $100,000. $2,200 for McDougall Cottage to purchase items in support of their special events, folding tables, table storage unit, portable AV screen, awning for outdoor events, and stools for musical performances. For Schneider House, we're donating $3,000 to purchase vintage costuming, as well as $10,000 to purchase a Museum on Wheels bicycle that will help Schneider House to do outreach in the downtown. And at Ken Sealing Waterloo Region Museum and Dune Heritage Village, a commitment of $100,000 over 3 years to create play spaces for our littlest visitors that we hope will have the fringe benefit of encouraging the region's family membership revenue. In terms of the future, we've got some exciting new fundraising events we're working on. One is called Gung Haggis Fat Choi. Took me a while, but I got it. A fusion of Scottish Robbie Burns Day and Chinese New Year that's been fashioned after a similar event in Vancouver. And since we're fortunate enough to have Santa, he's not here unfortunately tonight, but and one of his elves who actually volunteer on our board, we're planning a Christmas family photography event later this year. This year, we partnered with 3 generous corporate sponsors, and we're actively seeking corporate partners for the 2 events mentioned. We're also exploring grant options for some upcoming larger scale projects. The Waterloo Region Museums are crucial to telling the stories of Waterloo Region to our residents, those who have been here for life, those who are new to our region, and also to draw others to come here to live and to work. And as a group of volunteers in the community who care deeply about our museums and their important work, we're grateful to the Region of Waterloo for their support and stewardship. We would be pleased for council members and the public to find further information about us on the Friends webpage on the Region of Waterloo Museums.ca website and YouTube channel, or to follow us on Facebook and social media. We'd like to hand you one of those big fancy cardboard checks tonight for a donation commitment of $112,200, but everything's electronic these days, so we assure you the money will be transferred. Thank you.
So, Kelly, I really do have to correct one thing you said, though. You said Santa's not here, and Santa is here. You are all here. So thank you for your ongoing support of our museums, of all of the museums. It's so important. And I think I really want to give a shout out to the friends of the museums, and you are looking after everybody right now, not just the Dune Heritage Crossroad at Ken Sealing Regional Museum. It's so important. I think one of the most impactful displays I ever saw was the resilience display at McDougall Cottage. You clearly are providing the kind of support that staff and the volunteers have said that they need it at those cultural centers. So thank you, and thank you for keeping it current so it doesn't feel like a place where something important used to happen, but it connects us with the past and the present. So although you don't have a huge awkward check and everything is sort of e-transferred, we'd love to have a picture in the middle, and I would ask Julian Kingston, Director of Cultural I was going to say affairs, but I guess services sounds less racy. And Rod, do you want to come and we'll stand in the middle and get a picture?
Thank you.
Again, thank you very much for this long-standing, ongoing annual donation. The next delegation is Ren Womwell, organizer, Fight Back KW with Andrew Reeves, Jamie Steef, and Acer Bonaparte. Welcome. You have the floor, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi there. I'm Andrew Reeves, and I'm here to advocate for supporting the unhoused in our community. Specifically, I'm urging support for the petition being circulated by Fight Back KW, among other local activist groups. To give you some personal context, I've been a renter in Waterloo Region for 12 years, and during that time, I've witnessed a severe decline in the housing situation. Like many renters, I've nearly faced homelessness myself. Over the past several months, I've spent considerable time every week at the 100 Victoria Street encampment, volunteering and speaking with people currently experiencing homelessness. Additionally, I approach this issue from a more academic perspective as the postdoctoral fellow in ecological macroeconomics and metrics at York University. Given the magnitude of the housing crisis, the demands in this petition are modest yet critical. Addressing chronic homelessness is challenging, especially with higher levels of government neglecting housing and social supports for decades now. The increasingly gutted post-World War II economic model is well past its best before date, and given the increasing entrenchment of big financial interests, there is no turning back the clock. Magic solutions are not coming from higher levels of government. We live in one of the most prosperous places in Canada, likely to continue for some time. From an economic perspective, investment will not continue if we keep the current whack-a-mole policing approach towards the exploding number of people experiencing homelessness and becoming chronically homeless in our region. From a moral perspective, I hope this is obvious. Every person deserves to have their basic human needs met. People do not deserve to constantly face a capitalist police state simply for being poor. The constant delays and passing off of moral responsibility to uninterested higher levels of government must stop. This is our community, and we're obliged to support each other. For the sake of our community and to halt the cascading direct effects of chronic homelessness, we are here to share the following petition demands on behalf of nearly 200 community members and counting. Number 1, freeze budget increases for Waterloo Region Police Services for at least 5 years. Community members have already delegated on the need to rein in the budget of this harmful and publicly unaccountable militia. Statistics compiled and presented at Council, for example those by Craig Sloss, make clear that our police rely far too heavily on physical force, disproportionately harm and even kill our racialized and poor neighbors. For example, the recent police shooting of Nicholas Nemhard, a black man my age just down the street from me. The police are a fast-growing waste of resources that could be better spent on helping rather than harming. Number 2, halt construction at 100 Victoria Street until there are sufficient solutions for all current and future encampment residents. The Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Valente, found the region's attempt to evict encampment residents at 100 Victoria Street North was a violation of Section 7 Charter rights, as the region does not have enough accessible shelter spaces for all who need them. This is the only legal place in the region for people without shelter to exist without risk of forcible displacement by police. Number 3, conduct a meaningful review and overhaul of the broken shelter system. Waterloo Region's emergency shelter system is regularly at or above maximum capacity. The current state of the shelter system is unacceptable. We hear endless horror stories from folks on the streets about the shelters. Fundamental restructuring is required to meet the diverse needs of individuals experiencing houselessness. We call for an immediate and comprehensive review of the shelter system in Waterloo Region with a clear commitment to implementing person-centered and person-directed service provision enhancements. Frontline staff must receive adequate training and support to ensure that our shelters operate free from punitive measures with focus on stability as well as respect for their rights, dignity, and care of all service users. We urge you to implement these demands written on the shirts we are wearing tonight. This housing crisis is our collective responsibility. Many are being kept unhoused by a vicious cycle of stress, trauma, uncertainty, and being denied access to essential resources. Our unhoused neighbors deserve to have their basic needs met, especially shelter. As a community, we've done our part, helping and organizing support for these changes over several years. These demands also align with the recommendations in the new plan to end chronic homelessness. It's time for you to fulfill your part in this and take immediate and necessary action. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. You were almost a photo finish there, so good timing. I see no questions, so thank you very much. The next delegation is Krista Strauss from Wilmot. Krista, welcome. You have the floor and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak on this very concerning land assembly in Wilmot Township. My name is Krista Strauss, and I am from New Hamburg. Before I begin, I have some homework for everyone. I want you to look into to see how much land it takes to feed 1 million people, because that's the population we will be soon. And I am here to say that forcing farmers to sell their land, their business, and their homes so that a private business can benefit, this is wrong. If this goes through, this is going to set a dangerous precedent in Wilmot Township. And I don't know if you know how much uncertainty this is causing in the farming community. Why would any farmer in Waterloo region want to invest in their land, in their farm, if this could easily happen to them? And you would not cause this kind of uncertainty in any other industry, not in manufacturing, not in tech, and not in academics. So why is the agriculture industry, why is that okay? And an industry that is an anchor in Wilmot Township. We have so many businesses that rely on agriculture in Wilmot. Everything from cheese factories, organic foods, farm equipment dealership, fertilizer plant, grocery stores, other stores, restaurants, farm accountants, and so on. Our local high school, Waterloo Oxford, has an agriculture program. It is the only high school in the region to have such a program. And Wilmot is very close to the University of Guelph, which is one of the best agriculture schools in Canada. And in fact, many of us from Wilmot end up going there for agriculture or related fields, including myself. And we have such an agriculture knowledge economy in Wilmot. And the Ontario Veterinary College is there as well in Guelph. So if you have livestock, it's great to be in Wilmot. And everyone keeps talking about how flat this land is. In agriculture and farming, that's also important. And everyone's talking about the transportation, but for farming, the 7 and 8 is a pipeline for the agriculture as well. And this land in Wilmot is far away from the city that it doesn't interfere with city life, but close enough that a farmer can get their product into the city. And most of all, this is prime farmland in the middle of a farming community. A global site selector would also pick this land as ideal for farming. We are told that this is an innovative idea. It is not. Expropriation of farmland or forcing farmers to sell for another business, this is an old idea. And Waterloo region has always been out-of-the-box thinkers. We've been leaders. And I really thought we had a progressive idea with a country sideline. And I thought this was one of the reasons why we all got behind the ION. And the ION had so many public meetings. This land assembly has none. None of the farmers in Wilmot has been consulted. None of the residents in Wilmot have been consulted. And there's never been any plans for a mega site in Wilmot. This is not what farmers or residents in Wilmot planned for. This goes against our agriculture focus. This land is so far away from the cities. We have always been a community that props up and supports our local business, not a community that punches down. Wilmot has always been a grassroots type place. We have so many successful businesses and organizations that started from the people that live in Wilmot. And I don't know why the region isn't using the strengths of Wilmot to help with economic development. The farmers are businesses too. And I've been told that you should not pass by an old friend to shake hands with a new one, and that's what is being done with these farmers. This map I have shown shows how little prime farmland we have in Canada.
Krista, you have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. We are told that the business leaders said that we have 215,000 acres of farmland in the region. This is a 2016 number. This is an outdated number. We have more recent numbers, and we don't even know how much farmland we have right now. We're losing it, especially with all this development that's going on and the expansions. And so in summary, as a resident of New Hamburg, I'm very concerned about how this all went down. There is no consulting with the farmers of Wilmot Township or the residents of the Wilmot and the region. The residents of Wilmot, and I would say the residents of Waterloo region, we support our farmers. There must be a better way that involves willing sellers, land closer to the cities that have infrastructure, and doesn't do harm to our agriculture industry. And most of all, please thank a farmer today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, no clapping. Krista, we do have a question.
Okay.
Councillor Craig.
No, my apologies, Madam Chair. I don't have a question, okay?
Okay,
So we would just say thank you very
thank
much,
you.
Krista.
thanks.
Sorry to make you come back. The next delegation is Stuart Snyder, also from Wilmot. Stuart, welcome. You have 5 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Is the mic on? Okay. I will be dead. My kids may be dead. But the day will come when the agri-farmer is at the top of the economic ladder. Chair Redmond, councillors, staff, and supporters. Without prejudice. The opening statement was an opening line at a speech I gave at the University of Guelph in the 70s about the future of agriculture. Our forefathers arrived in 1866 and settled on Lot 33 of the German Company tract in the heart of agriculture, namely Waterloo County. I'm the 5th generation to be farming that has been shipping fluid milk since 1918. I would love to discuss more history because I love it, but we could spend all night. A lot can be shown in the picture that I've asked on the screen, picture of Grandpa's herd of shorthorns. Those shorthorns were known across Canada, and the picture was painted by, I always call him Pete, but it's supposed to be Peter Etchell Snyder, cousin. I would be interested to see if any of you could tell me the current address of that picture. This whole process to acquire land in Wilmot Township stinks. Your staff described it as cow dung. That is an insult to a dairy farmer. It is far worse, more like pig manure mixed with a dead skunk. First, you send in Vive Development, a failed attempt. Then a U.S. company called ConAcres from Houston, Texas, with absolutely no professionalism, no ID, and we're lying left and right. And even had the audacity to tell us, don't worry, this is a quote, I will be back with an offer you can't refuse. You can buy 4 to 5 farms with it, end of quote. It wasn't a legal signed offer when he came back. That had all the works of a con job. When I look back at the process, it really was a real con job. We have united in Wilmot, both landowners and citizens. We have been peaceful and polite, trying to be politically correct. It's tough to find a definition of what political correct really means. The whole affair to me really shows a lack of proper management. If I was in your shoes as political figures in Waterloo Region, in charge of our finances and on the region, I would be hanging my head in shame. The only bright light I have observed was the last council meeting we were at with Councillor James, working with the students to obtain their desired results. Very well done, Councillor James. This shows some hope. This is politically correct. The only answers we can get are, I'm sorry, I can't say. We're covered under NDAs. Where is the open communication, the lack of which is telling us something coming is detrimental to our community, or else we would know. There are too many misconceptions about what is happening. We've been told that the discussions and negotiations are going smooth. This must be referring to the other side of the line fence, not on our side. The real estate agent for Vive publicly admitted that this has been the region's worst kept secret. As taxpayers, I wonder what all the other secrets are that we don't know about. Hopefully these can all be brought to light later. How can we as landowners be at ease and have faith with all the different answers we're giving? The old saying say, figures can lie and liars can figure. Is this politically correct?
Stuart, you have 1 minute remaining.
We have a lot of questions that desire some answers. The most important one is, who do you want to be our next neighbor? Being a dairy farmer with a home base across the road and downstream, I will lose a third of my land base, increased stray voltage, decreased water supply because of the region. I am on my third well on that farm since 1976. Water quality is decreasing daily. Wilmette Creek needs a 6-inch rain to overflow in 1976. With a subdivision behind the castle in Baden paved over, it needs a 2-inch rain. What's going to happen with 770 acres across the road paved over? Safety, many tractors and equipment on the road. Moving tractors and equipment on the road now is a feat. What will it be like? We're in the middle of succession plannings. I have to put them on hold with my son. What will I be left with to succeed? As a farmer, I have learned not to put my eggs all in one basket. Ontario could be in problems if that handle ever breaks.
Stuart, can you sum up your comments?
Last page.
Okay.
In closing, Canada was built and united by agriculture and the railroads. Now you are acting to destroy agriculture, which has a finite supply, but I'll give a little credit due when it's due. You are starting a new railroad. It's called the JDK, Freight Express. It starts in Ottawa, carries to TO, comes to the region, and heading to Wilmette with full steam. Unfortunately, it's out of control. At its whistle are some engineers that are out of touch of reality. Maybe we don't have to worry. Maybe it won't get to Wilmette, and maybe running on EV batteries. That's a steep, slow hill from Kitchener to New Hamburg. I challenge you as chairman and councillors to come for a visit. Get some of that cow dung on your shoes. I would like to go on public record to say our farm is not for sale. We are not willing hosts. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a question. Councillor Salonen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Snyder, for coming out. Also, thank you, Krista. I just didn't have a question for you. I do have a question of clarification, though. You'd said that the region had sent Vive Developments in first, or Vive Real Estate. I just want clarity because that is not the case, in my understanding at least, but why do you feel that it was the region who sent them in?
Well, they arrived in January with offers to the various farms in the area. And I guess I'm trying to think if why would Vive show up if they didn't know what was going on? Somewhere something was leaked out to Vive that they knew enough to come looking, specifically targeting the farms that are in question. That's why I'm assuming, I guess assumption, I should be careful, I know what it really means, but I'm assuming there was some connection between Vive and the region, or how would they know what was going on? Everybody's supposed to be signed under NDAs, that's the answer we get. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
That's the end of our delegations. Colleagues, our next agenda item is minutes of the previous meetings. I would now entertain a motion to move 9.1 through 9.7, if I could have a mover. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Salonen. Please use your e-scribe buttons to vote. And it's 9.1 through to 9.12. I didn't turn the page. Councillor Hunick, you're not getting are you in favor of adopting? Thank you. That is carried, colleagues. The next agenda item is 10.1. It's a communications information package. It was distributed electronically. Are there any items they received for information unless somebody wants to draw something out? Seeing none, I would now entertain a motion to go into the committee of the whole to consider reports. If I could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Shantz, seconded by Councillor Craig. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Councillor Foxton is moving back to her station to vote, but she's doing missionary work on somebody else's electronics. Okay, Councillor Hunick is in favor. Okay. Colleagues, we're now on 12.1 finance reports. And Cheryl Braun, Acting Commissioner of Corporate Services and Chief Financial Officer, is available if we have any questions on these reports. And they are 12.1.1 through to 12.1.7. Are there any questions? Councillor Deutschmann, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. I sent an email earlier today to Mr. Regier, so it's just following up on that question. It's with respect to the Savick homes. Just trying to get the right number here. 12.1.4. So the question that's been raised with me, and I just wanted to, I'm passing it on from community members, is the question about whether we are whether transferring ownership is the route to go versus, for example, what the city of Kitchener did with respect to the lands at for the Y on Block Line, which I believe was a lease arrangement. And I could be wrong, but so if Mr. Regier could just comment on that, please.
Rod?
Yeah, through you, Chair Redmond. Yes, I believe we explored a variety of options in terms of moving this project forward. And I know that with some of the other land that we have, that we're considering bringing to market, that there are other alternatives. We, of course, do build affordable housing in our own portfolio, but this is an opportunity here to leverage the resources of the private sector to have a significant increase in the inventory constructed, and the conditions that we put on the table were met and exceeded by the proponent in this particular case. So I think staff are really pleased with the nature of the proposal that was brought forward. And we think it's the best path forward for the region right now.
Madam Chair, so just for clarification, no dispute about, hey, this is great idea. It's just the issue of lease versus sale. That's the point I was looking for a response on.
Yeah. We have consulted on the difference with a variety of proponents in the industry at large, and the key issue that we've discovered is that the equity that's available in the value of the land is really important to leverage the amount of investment that a project like this will require, and to guarantee the affordability for the period of time that we've got in this particular agreement. I think we've ensured something like 40 years of affordability in this project, which represents a very significant value, and I think a significant value for the amount of the value of the land that's being offered in this particular case. That said, in other situations, it may be possible to use a leasing arrangement where the region maintains the ownership of the land. But I think the economic model of the project would have to be different than what we're getting here.
And Madam Chair, I just want to apologize, Mr. Rigueur. I think I just sent you that email today, so certainly didn't give you enough time to respond, so my apologies there.
No worries.
Thank you, Councillor Deutschman. Councillor Erb, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend staff on some of the leverage that we're now able to put into these RFPs that we're issuing, where we can get childcare spaces. I think what we've been asking for in previous RFPs has been 25 years. We've been able to take this to 40 years. And so I think there's some advantages in this model that we're trying to develop. And we're able to get much more value out of the building and the property that we have by this leveraging that we're doing. So I hope we can continue that.
Thank you for that. Did we get a mover and a seconder? We need one. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Foxton. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Thank you, colleagues. That is now carried. 12.2 is committee reports. The first one up is Library Committee Summary of April 30th, 2024. There are two parts to this motion. If I could have a mover. Moved by Councillor Nowak, seconded by Councillor Wolf. Please use your e-scribe to vote. We're voting on approving the financial results of the libraries, a report dated April 30th, 2024. As well as allocation of the 2023 Regional Waterloo Library operating surplus in the amount of $145,277 to the Library Capital Reserve. Councillor Harris, are you in favor of the Library Committee report? He is nodding yes.
Yes, I'm clicking yes, but yeah.
Thank you. Good to know you support reading, Councillor Harris. 12.2.2 is the licensing and hearing summary, May 2nd, 2024. There is one recommendation from that. If I could have a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Hunick. So please use your e-scribe to vote on the Regional Municipality of Waterloo approve an amendment to Bylaw 16-044, a bylaw to licenses, regulate, and govern brokers, owners, and drivers of taxi cabs. The increase of the meter drop from $350 to $450. And again, this is a ceiling, not a floor. It's not prescriptive. Councillor Harris, are you in favor of the new drop rate for taxi cabs?
I'm rebooting my e-scribe, but yes.
I'm taking it that's a yes, and it's a mutter that your electronics aren't working. Colleagues, that is carried. The next agenda item is Planning and Work Summary of May 7th, 2024. I need a mover and a seconder, and there are several parts to this. Actually, it goes on for a couple of pages, so I'm not going to read it to everybody. Councillor McCabe, did you have a question on the last motion or this one?
No, I have a question on the Planning and Public Works.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Erb. It is now on the floor. Councillor McCabe, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a question. I'm wondering if we could get the dimensions. I read the report and I didn't see the dimensions, unless I missed it, of the bins, the new bins. And then so I'm wondering if we could get that from Commissioner Rose. And then my other question is, and again, I made the assumption when this came to committee, which I shouldn't have done, and I should have just asked the question, but will the cost of these new bins be covered by the region? Is that part of the terms of this contract, or who picks up the cost of the changing of the bins?
Councillor Rose.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. To Councillor McCabe, I don't have the exact dimensions of the bins with me right now, but I have arranged for them to be brought in so that council members can see the size of them and understand actually how big they are or how small they are, depending on how they have them envisioned in their minds. And I can also send that around through an email as well. The cost of the bins is covered by the region. We do have capital money in our capital plan to purchase the bins for residents.
Okay, thanks for that. That's good to know. I guess I just, without knowing the exact size of these bins, I'm just a bit concerned about passing this tonight because, in thinking through, I'm like, how big are they? Will they fit in people's garages? Or, I'm just wondering kind of practically where they will fit. And and that can really only be determined based on the size of them.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was a comment or a question.
Well, I'm just wondering if it will, like, I thought I'd be able to come in tonight, but I wasn't able to. So I'm just saying that I'm really concerned about passing this without actually knowing the dimensions. I've had a number of people ask me what the size of them are, and and I don't know. So, and I don't know if others have expressed that as well. So, I see there's another counselor who has a question in the queue, and I'll just think about whether or not I want to put forward a motion to defer. And I'll let Councillor Foxton ask her question.
Councillor Foxton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And similar to the question is the concern about residents that live above stores that don't have any place to put these things, and that's my concern. Or they don't have a backyard or a front yard. So where are these bins going to go? Maybe we could use a different system for in towns, or we can explore other ways, but I'll leave that with staff.
So, Council, I am in your hands, but I would have to say that this is council meeting, so this has already been discussed and gone through the standing committee. And there's been time to answer and ask questions. So I think it's legitimate to raise concerns, but Councillor Rose, I guess I would have to ask you, are these not standard bins that a lot of people are using? So to look at different dimensions or customizing, it would be additional cost and time, I would assume.
Yes, to the chair. I mean, I worked at another municipality where we did have this cart system, and people put the bins in their garages or they put them beside their homes. We didn't have any complaints there about the bins because we actually were able to get rid of the litter complaints and the animal or rodents or whatever, the ones that the animals that were enterprising and could get into the garbage, they were not able to get into the bins. So we actually were quite, people were quite pleased with the bins in the municipality that I worked in, and we never had any complaints. And from the industry perspective, just so council knows, we are moving as an industry away from manual labor and bags because there simply isn't the workforce out there who's willing to do that type of work now that we have the cart system and the automated cart system with the vehicles. They're also a lot safer with 360 camera around the vehicles to ensure that there's nothing in the way when they're driving through the streets.
Councillor Salonen.
Just picking up on a question that Councillor Foxton asked, for the apartments that would be above businesses, would that not fall under like our downtown core collection, and that would be something separate from this contract? I just wanted clarity on that, because that was certainly my interpretation.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Salonen. So for the downtowns, we are doing the study right now for downtown waste collection, and it is separate from the residential contract that we're looking to pass today. The details with respect to whether we'll use carts or a bag system in the downtowns has not been finalized yet. But it is outside of this contract, so it could be different.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thanks. And I guess I would just maybe ask a bit of indulgence and ask if any of the councillors who are in the chambers today, if you've seen these. Again, I'm just really, I know this was discussed in committee, but we've seen things come to council before and get deferred or even overturned sometimes. So I'm not suggesting we overturn this. I'm just wondering if anyone has actually, I'm just wondering some of the comfort level that other councillors might have with the size of these bins, because I haven't been able to get the dimensions or see them myself. Can comment on that?
Well, I can weigh in just on a personal anecdote and say that we have a cottage where we have switched over to this for the last 2 seasons, and it has worked very well. And I was really worried that the bears would be able to get in, and they haven't been. So it's one garbage truck. They do all the collection in one day, at least in our area of the cottage country, and they seem to have worked really well. I would assume they're very standard. They're exactly the kind of bins that I've seen in other places. I don't know. I'm not going to put my hand on my heart and say they're exactly the same size as the region is anticipating. But again, I think this is a standard practice, and I would certainly take into consideration what Commissioner Rose has said about the experience in other municipalities. Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Councillor McCabe is asking questions about the pros of these. None of us are questioning that. Her question has to do with the sizing and the storage of them. So that's what we should be discussing here. I've never thought about that. But, now that it's brought up, I start to think about all the stacked townhouses where there's no spaces anymore for people to store things like this. I'm wondering whether we sort of jumped the gun on this. I realize it's late in the game, but maybe we should be having this consideration. It's sort of like saying we don't need cars anymore, and yet now we're finding out that cars are definitely a necessity going into the future. Sometimes we make these decisions without fully understanding the repercussions that they have on the people that we're making the decisions for. So I'll defer to Councillor McCabe on whether she wants to do the deferral on this particular part of this, and I would second her deferral if she wants to do it just on this portion.
I'm going to go back to Commissioner Rose, who is going to offer some context.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. The carts are a standard size of cart because they have to. It would be cost prohibitive for companies to create different sizes of carts for different municipalities. The City of Toronto uses a cart system. The Region of Peel uses a cart system. Guelph uses a cart system. They all have different types of housing there, whether it's apartments or stacked townhouses or, residents above businesses. There's from my professional knowledge of the industry, there's been little to no complaints about the size of the carts. Certainly when people first get the carts, they do wonder where they're going to put them, but once they see the advantages of having a cart system with respect to litter and animals, and they're also able to actually put more garbage into the garbage bins, they quickly become used to the carts. They're easy to roll out to the curb. They're cleaner. They're not you don't get the messy bags on the side of the curb. So I can just go on with the advantages of the carts, and it is late in the game. If council decided not to pass this, we would have to go out again for another RFP for manual pickup, and I doubt we would get very many vendors who would even bid on something like that, because like I said, the industry is moving towards a cart system, and it would likely cost more than this contract because it's not in line with where the industry is going.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Liggett?
Yeah, I'll take my name off of seconding that deferral, when we look at the negotiations for a contract. That has to weigh into it. But I will caution us all on decisions that we make in future that are of such magnitude that they could cause problems in the future. Sometimes we look at a motion or a topic and we think, oh yeah, this looks great. And we don't really look at what repercussions could be. So that would be one of those. It's way too late in the game. So thanks.
Okay, Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Madam Chair, I was just going to say that I know they use them in Guelph. My daughter lives in Guelph, and you see, and it's working well. I also use them at the cottage, and no problems and no bears. So it's been great. So I think people will, their initial reaction will be, oh, this is bigger. But obviously all of these other cities have adapted, and as Commissioner Rose has said, there are definite advantages. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wolf. Councillor Deutschman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Edmund. Pardon the light. Unless there's a deferral motion, I'll move this motion. I don't know if you've got someone moving it already. I lost track.
So it was moved by Councillor McKay by...
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
Okay, so the motion has been moved and seconded, Councillor Deutschman. Sorry, was that your question? Yeah.
Call the question.
Thank you. So the question's been called. Councillor McCabe, any final thoughts?
No, just that, saying something's a standard size doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know what the standard size means. So, and I don't have a cottage, so I don't know what, again, that doesn't really mean anything. I really wish we could have seen, I think having the size of these things, the dimensions of them would have been an easy thing to include for us so that we can, actually get a sense of, how much room it is going to take in a garage or at the side of the house or whatever. I think that's, again, something that I should have raised in committee. I totally understand that, but I think that's something that was missed in this. But at this point, I'm not going to move to defer. That's fine. We can carry forward with it, but I would still like to know the dimensions of these things, please.
Okay, I think that's been duly noted. It has been moved and seconded. The question has been called. I would ask you to use your e-scribe to vote. And there are actually, I think, 6 different parts and components and some subparts of the motion that we're dealing on. So this is the planning and works summary of May 7th, 2024. Colleagues, that is carried. The next item is the closed committee summary from May 7th, 2024. I need a mover and a seconder. And this again has several parts to it. which are written before you. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Nowak. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. The next agenda item is Community and Health Services Summary from May 7th, 2024. I need a mover and a seconder. There are two parts to this motion. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Erb, seconded by Councillor Wolf. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. The next agenda item is the Audit Committee report from May 14th, 2024. If I could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor James, and we're voting on that the Regional Municipality of Waterloo approve the attached consolidated financial statements, sinking fund financial statements, and trust fund financial statements for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, is set out in a report dated May 14th, 2024. Colleagues, that is carried. I'm just demonstrating to the clerk that I do know how to count and read. Next, we have a closed council summary, which is going to be put up. So this is from today's date. And it authorized the Commissioner of Planning, Development, and Legislative Services to execute an agreement of purchase and sale in Waterloo with the Waterloo Catholic District School Board, and it's for a piece of land abutting a walkway from Loris Avenue. And B, that we authorize the Commissioner of Planning, Development, and Legislative Services to execute an agreement of purchase and sale for the same said walkway. If you could please, I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Shantz, seconded by Councillor Hunick. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Councillor Harris, are you in favor of supporting the recommendations from closed? Thank you. Colleagues, that is carried. The next agenda item is the Board of Health update. So I would call on Dr. Wong, Commissioner of Public Health and Paramedic Services, to provide a verbal update, which is being received for information. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Good evening, councillors. This will be my last update on the enforcement of the Immunization of School Pupils Act. As of this morning, there were 119 secondary students suspended for out-of-date records. We continue to work directly with schools, parents, and students to try to resolve these suspensions. The final day of secondary suspension is Wednesday, May 29th. Throughout the Immunization of School Pupils Act campaign, we have sent out over 27,000 elementary notifications and over 10,000 secondary notifications. Since November, we have successfully updated over 37,000 out-of-date immunization records. To date, Waterloo Region has not received a report of a local case of measles. We continue to prepare to respond should Waterloo Region have a local case. As a direct result of enforcing the Immunization of School Pupils Act this year, the region's compliance rate for measles immunization is approximately 95.8%, and our coverage rate with 2 doses is 88.5%. Our coverage rate for 7-year-olds was 58.1% on August 31st of last year before we began our process. Of all those 7 years or older, our measles coverage rate is 94.2%. And finally, we will be providing a full account of our Immunization of School Pupils Act compliance rates in a report to the Community and Health Services Committee in the fall in advance of enforcement for the next school year. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. We have some questions. Councillor Foxton.
Not questions, but congratulations. Imagine if you couldn't do this. Imagine what would happen to our children and our society. You've done an amazing job, and please pat that off to all your staff. You're unsung heroes, and I think you've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Councillor Salonen.
I'll word mine as a question, but it's really a comment. May I just congratulate your staff as well, and a big thanks as well for, I know that you guys had an immunization come out and do a clinic at our local high school, and I know that not only high school students but people in the community came out to that just before the suspension started, and it was a great success, I hear. So just thank you guys for making sure that even our townships are getting the support that they need to make sure everyone's vaccinated.
Thanks for that feedback, much appreciated.
I see no further questions, so just I would add my voice to your team in a job very well done. Those numbers 3 months ago were very formidable, and to find out that it was 119 and the final analysis for secondary students is a huge amount of work and investment by the community in the process too. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
Other matters under the Committee of the Whole, colleagues, I would entertain a motion for the Committee of the Whole to rise and Council to resume. Councillor Nowak, Councillor Wolf, please use your e-scribe for the Committee of the Whole to rise and Council to resume. Colleagues, that is carried. I would now entertain a motion that Council adopt the proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. Councillor Shantz, Councillor Williams, please use your e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. We have no motions. We do, however, have a notice of motion. It is a notice of motion from Councillor James. But before she speaks to it, is there a seconder? Councillor Hunick? Councillor James, would you like to speak to this motion?
So thank you, through you, Chair Redmond. I wanted to, I was thinking about the standing committee and the name as it currently stood, planning and works, and recognizing that, community in itself has no idea what that really means. It really was not reflective of the current work and scope of what our staff are doing and around the decisions that are being made. So, I believe that this is more reflective of the committee. It's descriptive, which I think was very much missing in the previous title. And it's representative of where we are today and aligns with the goals that we have set out through a strategic plan and with the actions of our staff and what this council approves. I also believe that this title allows for staff to be, that are working under this portfolio, to be more seen in the work that is being done. While this recommendation itself, it didn't come from staff, I will say that thankfully, the commissioners, we had discussions about this. This has been some time thinking about kind of what would be more reflective for this committee. As chair of current planning and works, I feel it's my role sometimes to sponsor some of the change that needs to happen. And presenting this to council, sponsoring the name of the standing committee and the title change for that committee. So if there's any questions, happy to answer them. I would hope that council would support this change coming forward.
Thank you, Councillor James. I don't see any questions. This is something that we've talked about for quite a while, so thank you for bringing this forward. I guess I would just turn to the clerk and just ask, should this, and it looks like it is going to go past, do you want to talk about how it would roll out and when it would come into effect?
Yeah, sure. So if council is to approve this evening, there will be a couple of amendments to the procedural bylaw, and we have a 21-day notice period on that. So the standing committee name would actually become in effect at the August committee cycle. So just to give everyone that notice.
So seeing no speakers, I'm going to call the question. It's been moved and seconded. Please use your e-scribe to cast your ballot. And again, this will come into effect for August committee day. Colleagues, that is carried. Any unfinished business? Other business? Oh my goodness, okay. Councillor Salonen, I saw you first, and then Foxton, and then Leggett.
Thank you. I do have two questions. One, I was just wondering if information / solutions could come back to our next committee day regarding the hydro cut parking on Snyder's Road. I had a concerned resident reach out to me this morning, but also anecdotally driving down there on the weekend, it was not very safe, and we have farmers who are saying that they have large heavy equipment that they're going to be getting out in the next few weeks, and it's not viable for them to get down their laneway. Could we have an update on that? I can give you details on where exactly that location is, as I'm seeing some shoulders shrugging.
I think it's a distinct possibility they're searching. So, Doug, is that something you take away? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
In terms of location, Snyder's Road, it would be west of the Sikh temple on your way into Petersburg. That entrance onto the hydro cut. Thank you. And one more question, and this one is a request / PSA. The Mennonite Relief Sale's coming up on Saturday in New Hamburg, and we're very excited about it. With that, I have had multiple requests that the regional road lawn be cut on your way into New Hamburg. I will leave that with staff, but I said that I would raise that concern. They asked if I could raise it at council tonight. So I will leave that with staff, but also a PSA. We hope to see you all out there this Saturday.
Thank you. Councillor Foxton.
Thank you. Again, another road issue. As the roundabout or the work at Tressler Road and Cedar Creek Road is commencing, I have had requests from citizens that Tressler Road at the point of Piper Street be marked as a no truck road. So if a sign could be put there, because that has steep cliffs on it and if trucks are using it, they could cave the whole structure. And also at the end of Northumberland Street where it T-intersects to Stanley, so that trucks don't turn left off Northumberland onto Piper. So thank you.
Jennifer?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Foxton, we can certainly work with township staff to get those signs up. We would not normally put signs on local township roads, but we can certainly work with your team to make sure that those signs are up there. For
Actually, these would have
Road,
to be on Northumberland and Tressler Road, telling them not to turn on to Piper on either end. So it's regional roads I need the signs on. Thank you.
Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Mine is also to do with roads and roundabouts. I received an email with regards to the paving of the roundabout at Beverly and Dundas. I received that email today. The property owners in that area received notification just 5 days ago that the surface asphalt would be done over the next 3 Saturdays. I sent this on to Mathieu and as well on to Jennifer for a response to this. They're requesting that it not happen on their busy days. They would like it to happen on another day of the week, so because they've been suffering through the Dundas reconstruction, COVID, the roundabout construction, and there isn't an alternate route to them because we've shut off Beverly Street because we're doing the underpass right at that place, so we can't get any cars coming from the north that direction. So they are asking if the day of the week could be changed to one that's they're not so busy because Saturdays are their busiest days.
Jennifer?
So through the chair to Councillor Liggett, I have the email was forwarded to me and I've sent it to my staff to see if there could be another day that we could do the work. It would be one day that would be disrupted for that plaza, but I understand the concerns raised by the businesses there, so I've asked my team to see if there's a better day that they can do it. But I just wanted to make sure that council understood that it was one day that we were looking at paving on Dundas in front of that plaza.
Okay, thank you for that. The letter that went out to them says day 1, day 2, and potentially a third day for inclement weather. So that's 3 Saturdays in a row.
Yes, that's correct. That is what the letter says, but there's a little diagram at the bottom where it shows that day 1 would actually be the paving in front of that plaza up to the railway tracks on Dundas, and then day 2 would be from the railway tracks further up Dundas, and day 3 would be if there was a rain delay. But like I said, we'll work with the businesses and see if there is a different day. But we'll also have to look at our contract to see if that would adversely affect the cost of our contract, and it would go up quite a bit. So we'll have to make that decision.
Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. I also have a transportation question, but just more something for Acting Commissioner Spooner maybe to take away and include in his integrated mobility planning. But I would like to know, I would like to get some information about the road crossings, like the timing of the lights when crossing regional roads, because I timed it at the one near where I live, and for going one direction, it's 1 minute. It's 1 minute and 10 seconds to go one direction, but then for crossing from like a side street across in Fisher Holman, in this case, you have barely, not even 30 seconds. And it's 30 seconds. My concern is that 30 seconds really just isn't long enough for many people, certainly not someone who isn't fully able-bodied or someone with young children or anything like that, to actually safely cross an intersection. So, and this is something that one of the kids in our council for a day my Council for a Day program brought up, is that there's a lot of intersections where it's the timing of the lights is too fast for people to cross. So I'm just asking if this is something that could be looked at through either the integrated mobility planning process or in the regular work that you're doing.
Mr. Spooner?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Councillor McCabe, happy to look at that. Happy to learn about signal phasing along with Council. It's an important piece of our pedestrian network. So happy to report back. I'll do that as soon as possible. I don't have to wait for the integrated mobility plan. So
great. Thank you so much.
Councillor James.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Again, and since we're on this rabbit hole of roads and everything, sorry, Doug. I just wonder if staff can get back to council, me, whoever, regarding the Freeport Bridge pavement. And there may be some major reconstruction, but there are some holes that need to be filled, and again, just some constituent stuff that have come through. But if staff could get back regarding Freeport Bridge and any improvements that may be happening there.
So colleagues, Jennifer, do you want to answer that?
I just wanted a clarification, if I could. Freeport Bridge, you're just asking for when the actual deck of the bridge will be rehabilitated?
Yeah, so there's some pavement that's really broken along there with some potholes. So is there going to be some interim things done? And then I guess, the broader scheme of if there's any reconstruction happening.
Okay, thank you. So that bridge is under load restriction right now, and we're doing an assessment to see what we need to do to shore up the bridge to make to get it back to its regular load bearing. So that's the construction part of it would be in future years. And we'll certainly talk to staff about the maintenance of the bridge and looking at the potholes that is currently there.
Perfect, thank you.
So colleagues, it's always a good opportunity to ask questions, and it's great that we're reflecting the concerns of our constituents and residents, but I would also point out that these are questions that can be sent to staff via email and copy the rest of council and get the answers. So great that we're having this opportunity, but I would hope that we exercise the access we have to our outstanding staff between council meetings to ask these questions and maybe not just gather them all up so it sounds like we have a laundry list of road issues. Councillor McCabe, are you back on the list?
Yes, I had something that wasn't a transportation issue. I actually had sent these questions last week, which maybe I didn't provide enough time, but I just wanted to provide some clarifications regarding some planning issues because it's been raised a couple of times in the last few months and around the horseshoe about the issue of a delegation of authority for planning. And I had copied everyone on my questions, but as I said, I hadn't received an answer yet. And again, maybe that I just hadn't given Mr. Regier enough time, but I just wondered, since we're here tonight, instead of sending another email, if you could, Mr. Regier, just provide some clarification on the questions that have been asked and the process that's been gone through in the last couple of years, or maybe beyond that, around the question of delegation of authority.
Rod? Have you not answered this via email?
Yeah, I did send out an email to the regional council. I can provide some more specific information if you wish.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it should be. I'm happy to resend it to you, Councillor McCabe, and I'll answer any questions that you may have in regard to the details. But certainly,
okay.
Yes.
Was that sent to everyone? Because I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My apologies then. I must have missed it somehow.
Councillor Craig.
Pardon me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing that we're into an evening of endless questions, I thought I would ask mine. I noticed it in the Treasury report tonight that in fact we're contemplating a new pedestrian bridge across Highway 78. And I just wanted to bring up the aspect that in Cambridge, and I've brought this forward before to Matthew about pedestrian bridge across the Grand River, just so he is aware of this, at GCI in River Bluffs Park area. And I'd like to know what the next steps will be, because I don't want this to be lost in the background. It deals with safety, because kids still cross on the CN bridge, well, which is not an appropriate way to get to GCI. People on the east side don't have direct access to River Bluffs Park and all the biking trails and everything else. So what I would like to know is, what are the steps? What are the possibilities? That's the kind of question, okay, for future consideration.
Matthew?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So the bridge over Highway 78 that is on the agenda today this is not a new bridge. This has been in the works for some time. There, it's just a change to the scope of the contract. There were some supply chain issues which have delayed the construction, but that's been a long time standing. It's funded through transit and through the transit budget. So just to say that this is not a new bridge. This has been a long time coming. But with reference to the bridge that you mentioned over the Grand River, that is part of the large bridges are a significant construction endeavor. And so that's, these considerations have to be addressed within the integrated mobility plan to look at where the crossings need to be located, what the needs of the population are. Should that be dedicated for active transportation or actually a road bridge? So these are big strategic questions that will be brought back to council as part of the mobility plan.
So that process is undergoing or starting?
So the mobility plan is underway. Maybe I'll let Doug give you an update.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So the IMP has begun. We've got a scope. We'll be out to tender shortly. It will follow much of what we're seeing with the GRT business plan, community consultation, gathering of needs. We'll have sessions here at council as well. So, Councillor Craig, I've documented this request. It'll go into scope now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So colleagues, when I was in Ottawa, we used to call this time of year silly season. And I'm really regretting asking if there were any questions. I'm going to move on to entertaining a motion now to enact bylaws for second and third readings. It's 21.1 through to, got to turn the page, 21.7, if I could have a mover and a seconder. You have a question about one of the bylaws. Okay, what do you want to move it so it's on the floor? Okay, so moved by Councillor Salonen, seconded by Councillor Foxton. Councillor Salonen, you have a question?
Yes, on the one that's itemized as 21.4, bylaw 24-018. I just wanted that we have identified on record who the treasurer, acting treasurer is. I'm assuming it's Ms. Braun, but I want to know who we're actually putting as acting treasurer. And then kind of adjacent to that would be item 21.5, bylaw 24-019. I would like to know who we're identifying to appoint as deputy clerk in the event that our clerk and deputy clerk are not present.
So Cheryl Braun is the acting CFO.
Perfect.
And Will's going to answer the second question.
So our specialists are being added so that they can be granted the authority to commission something in the event that Tim and I are not available to do so. So Rhianne Kasser, Julie Hale already was one, and our interim Chris Fisaro.
Perfect, thank you. I just want clarification on that.
Thank you. I see no further questions. Please use your e-scribe to vote on passing the bylaws. Colleagues, that is carried, and I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Harris. Councillor Deutschman. Please use your e-scribe to vote. You're all voting no, right? That is carried, colleagues. Enjoy the rest of your evening.